Thank you so much, Bill. That was beautiful. Again, as Craig said earlier, my name is Joel Drenckpohl. For the past 12 years, I have had the privilege of running a nonprofit up near Cal Poly that works with Cal Poly students. It's a community building organization. And this is the third time that I have gotten to do this here. So, Craig, thank you for asking me. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here. A little while back, Craig asked me to share some thoughts on love for this occasion, being that Friday was Valentine's Day. And love can be such a broad idea, can it? Such an ambiguous idea. What does it mean that we love or loved someone, or that we were loved by someone else? It's honestly an idea that's a little intimidating to talk about. What profound thing can I offer you all about an idea that has probably been talked about more than any other idea in the history of human existence? In our culture, we like to possess things and control things a lot. So then I think this leads to our ideas of love revolving around something we believe that we can possess, that we can do with what we like. In a lot of ways within our thinking, I think love becomes a possession that we can give or we can withhold. So I started thinking about recent experiences in my own life that I would call love, and I wanted to share a few of them with you. A few weeks ago, I was up in Seattle, and I was sitting at breakfast with my parents, and my mom began reflecting with me on one of her other sons, Jeremy, one of my older brothers, who died when he was 17 years old, 32 years ago. And she was talking about memories of his life and who he was and what he meant to her, and she clearly still felt connected to him, as though he were still a part of our family. This past week, Christy, who I am married to, stayed up late into the evening helping our youngest son, who is 14, make a beaded bracelet for a person who he has had a crush on for the past year, while simultaneously FaceTiming our 19-year-old daughter who is down at UCSB because she also wanted to be a part of this moment. Last weekend, I saw my 17-year-old son walk into a hospital room of the critical care unit with his arm wrapped around his lifelong friend of the same age who was sobbing as she prepared to say goodbye to her grandpa for the last time. Every day that I get home from work, I open our front door, and before I can even get in the house, our Australian Shepherd, Willow, with one brown eye and one blue eye, is wiggling her entire body, her little nub of a tail wagging frantically back and forth until I get down on my knees and I wrap both my arms around her body as she leans hers into mine and just wants me to hold her until I decide I have more important things to attend to. My friend and coworker recently had a baby who I got to hold the other day, and in that moment, it seemed as though nothing else mattered. On our way home from Los Angeles recently, our family, minus our oldest, again, she's at UCSB, stopped by the house of a dear friend in the hills of Santa Barbara who recently passed away unexpectedly. And as we neared the home, the sun was setting over the Pacific Ocean, providing this beautiful backdrop to Santa Barbara. And we pulled into the driveway, and under this massive oak tree, I saw his beloved old burgundy Mercedes that I had been in so many times with him before. And then as I got out of the car, his dog Lucky ran up to me. And I almost expected to see my friend come out of that house. But the woman who he has been married to for years came out to greet us and invited us into their home. This past week, I was sitting on the couch watching a hockey game that I was not super invested in, as I am not really a hockey person. Christy and our oldest son were also in the room, and I overheard our youngest son in the back of the house talking on the phone to someone. I asked if either of them knew who he was talking to, and our 17-year-old told me that he was FaceTiming our daughter who was away at college. I've never moved so quickly. I jumped up from the couch and literally ran to the back of our house just so that I could see her face for a moment and say hello. Our 17-year-old came home from a baseball practice the other night and told Christy and I while he was at the gas station that a woman had asked him for $20 to get some gas, and he gave it to her. And then he followed that with asking us if we thought the woman really needed it for gas. And my wife told him that it didn't matter. I work in a place every day where I see hundreds of 18 to 22-year-olds meet each other for the first time, and oftentimes within minutes, they are laughing or crying with people that they had not known moments before, both eager to celebrate one another as well as grieve with one another. The night before all the rain began to fall last week, it was 9 o'clock, and I was racing to get a tree planted with the area lit by a lantern. I have always felt drawn to trees and to the earth. I dug a large hole, getting down on my hands and knees as the hole got so deep, and removed the final bit of dirt with my bare hands, feeling it fall through my fingers. And when it came time to remove the root ball of the tree from the plastic container, I was having a bit of trouble, starting to get quite frustrated. At this exact same time, my neighbor Ken, who lives a few houses up, and his deaf dog Licorice were passing by on their evening walk. They both saw me struggling, walked up the driveway, and helped me get the tree planted for the next 15 minutes. Licorice laid beside us watching, but not hearing, his beloved owner tell me about the recent death of his father. Today, for one reason or another, we all decided to come here to listen to Bill play these isolated sounds called notes on this piano, which he beautifully strings together into jazz music, which has so many benefits to us as human beings. One being how collectively listening to music releases neurochemicals in our brains, many of which can contribute to us feeling a closeness or connection to others sharing in that same experience. What is this thing that we call love? The idea so often gets embedded in a framework or culture or societal structure, which leads to narrow understandings of love. Definitions that don't quite seem to do justice for what we are actually experiencing. We experience something that seems to transcend time and death and age and distance and language and senses and culture and species. So what if love wasn't something that we could possess? What if instead it was a reality that all of existence was saturated with? People, birds, dogs, cats, flowers, trees, mountains, oceans, rivers, streams, grass, dirt, even spaces that we enter, whether natural or made by the hands of humans, homes, coffee shops, businesses, places of worship. What if love was this thing, this energy that was flowing throughout the universe, trying to connect all that exists? We thirst for connection. It is the thing that is right below the surface of every moment, every interaction, every space. We are biologically wired to be connected to other living things and to the earth in a similar way to our biological need for food. When we are depraved of either, there is a craving that is triggered within our brains. What if that craving for connection we have is the undercurrent of love, flowing throughout the existence, constantly inviting, beckoning us all to connect with all that is? There are times we feel the division between us and everything else. Our culture, now more so than ever, is set up to constantly divide us, to deprave us of the thing that we long for most. And there are also times we feel connected, one with everything else. And the difference between the two is so apparent to us because we feel both deeply within ourselves. Every week I tell the community that I have the privilege of cultivating. Our world desperately needs more connection. We need more love. People are longing to be seen, longing to be heard, to be known, to experience empathy, to have someone to grieve with, to have someone to share joy with. There are constant invitations to us all to participate in this thing called love, that it is all around us. We just have to give into it, to allow it to wash over us, to see how easily we can be a part of it and to help more of it to happen in our little corners of the universe. As I am writing this, Willow jumped up onto our couch, curled up next to me, her body leaning into mine, laid her head on my lap between my laptop and my chest, and began to lick my hand as I typed. If only we were as good as Willow at giving into the connection so freely.